And so you as a dad, you've got this creature living in your house that is not like the other creatures that most parents have. And you embraced this. You saw this and embraced it. And you're encouraging him as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, it's about encouragement, not pushing. It's, as long as he enjoys it. I have 2 daughters as well who danced for years. And as long as they enjoyed it, we'll help.
Right.
My wife and I will encourage them. I joke, I'm like the dadager. I set up the gigs.
Yeah, you're that guy. You're that guy.
And I always tell him, hey, you know what? This winery wants you to sing, or do you want to go do this? And if he says no, then okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So it's almost a fine line, because you want to go, come on, man.
You want to push him.
But then you have to realize, if you push, it might lead to burnout. And I mean, he's 13, right? So you don't want to go down that path.
So when you hear about He Changed It, you heard about what Candy's doing. You heard it at arm's length. This is cool.
Yeah.
What was it that initially made you want to react? Because we've talked about vulnerability many times already on this relatively short-lived podcast. We've talked about the V word quite a bit. Vulnerability comes up a lot. And you were immediately willing to put your hand up and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Which I find fascinating.
Yeah.
What was it about what you heard? What did you hear about He Changed It? And what was it about that made you want to stand up and say, hey, I got stuff to say?
Yeah. Going through and being a university professor, it's a great gig.
Sure.
I'm not knocking it, but there are pressures that I don't think a lot of people realize, especially at a large university like UBC, where I'm at. And going through, you have to go through, it's called the tenure process. And so to obtain tenure, your teaching has to be really good. You have to do some service. You have to research and get in some big grant dollars and publish. And, then you put together this big dossier after, 6 or 7 years, and it starts going through the chain of command, so to speak, and whether or not you're good enough, essentially, to stay on.
Yeah.
And it's an extremely stressful time, and as a husband and a father of 3, there were days going through, 2 years ago, like kids would come home, Dad, are we staying in Kelowna, or, what's going on? And it's just like,
wow,
holy shit, hey, I'm doing my best here, and, I want to stay, and we love it here, and everything is great. And so there's that underlying pressure and that stress. Fortunate, I was able to obtain tenure. That's great.
Yep.
And so it was kind of like, we're not leaving. This is great.
Yes.
But I think, all of that underlying stress just started coming to the forefront. Mm-hmm. And then, there were opportunities where I was able to travel. Fortunate in my position, I'm able to go virtually around the world to present at conferences, etc. And last May, I took a group of students to India, 15 students. We went to a remote village in the Punjab region.
Yeah.
It was obviously life-changing. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We were able to go up to the village. It's called McLeod Ganges, where the Dalai Lama lives. He happened to be there. Happened to be this far away from him.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it was just, I got chills now. And I'm not a religious person, but to be in his main monastery,
the reverence and respect that would be there
was unbelievable.
Wow.
So the opportunities and the experiences were fantastic. When I came home, it wasn't so fantastic. I think everything just started bubbling, and I essentially had a breakdown. I had a breakdown, and I didn't quite realize it. Because work, you put on the facade, right? Hey, everything's great. You're teaching in front of students. Hey, happy-go-lucky. Everyone knows me as, hey, it's Berg. The students would just call me Berg. Because, hey, there's Berg, blah, blah, blah. So it was almost like acting, but I would get home and I'd crash, and I would lash out at my wife and kids. And finally, my wife, Shelly, she looked at me one day and says, you need help. Like, you need help. I can't do this anymore. Like, you have to change.
You remember that moment very well.
100%.
How did you feel hearing that coming from her, because at the end of the day, it's your life partner.
Yeah.
And my wife and I were just talking about this earlier today. Sometimes, you hear something from your partner and you're like, but then you hear the same thing from 2 or 3 other people and you give it reverence and respect.
Yeah.
Did you hear her right away or was there some denial?
No, it was right away. It was, and it was almost the look, like her almost not pleading, but like, you need help, like go get help.
Right.
And that's when I realized, I have to.
It's funny. We talk about, mental wealth, mental health, mental illness versus, and having mental health. It's funny, the medical equivalent to what you're talking about is probably, guys our age in our 40s, a guy working too hard, gets stressed, has a heart attack.
Yeah.
Okay. So he has a heart attack. And now we know you got to do this and this and this and this and this. And we got a beautiful roadmap as to how to help no matter what it is. But this here is not like that. You have this breakdown and then there is no label like a heart attack. You just keep fucking going.
Yeah.
And not knowing that you've only got 3 wheels on your car.
Yeah, exactly.
And thank God that she was able to get through to you to do that.
Yeah.
At that point there, what did you do?
I made an appointment with my physician and walked in and said, this is what's going on. And so I did this little test and I was off the charts. I diagnosed with depression, anxiety, so general anxiety disorder. So straight away, okay, go on medication. There's different medications. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's totally fine.
Any pride issues with that?
A little bit.
Did you have to swallow some stuff to?
Yeah, a little bit. It was tough to say at the start, to my physician, who's a great physician. It's like, so what's going on? I'm like, I'm fucked up. Like, I'm sorry. And
that was hard.
And it was hard. And going home and telling the kids after, it was hard, but it was something like I had to do it. They needed to know. And I wanted them to know that, number one, Dad's not okay. Yeah. And 2, if they're not okay, it's okay. I mean, obviously there's good days and bad days and I battle every day.
What does a battle look like? Like, is it a mood thing? Is it a physical thing?
It's a mood thing. It's more of a mood thing. It's, and again, my wife, she's right there, like kind of every now and again puts the old hand on the thigh, like basically calm down.
Yep.
And I'm reading more now, just trying to find things without medication.
Right.
That's where I'm at now.
Right.
And, coming on here and telling my story, I think is part of that journey, part of that, not healing process, but part of that process to just say like, hey, here's a guy, he's got a PhD.
Yep.
Pretty successful.
Yep.
Awesome family, all this, but fucked up.
Yeah.
And I think if people who know me and they watch this and they don't know what I've gone through, because a lot don't, they'd be like, what?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's important. And it was because my dad's that old school, like, have a CC and 7 and a smoke and you'll be fine. And, because that's what it was, right? And
a Canadian club and 7. There we go. Let's do it.
Yeah. And I said, before I would say, no, don't tell him. But I was like, yeah, tell him. Tell him this is what I'm going through. And I want to know what he said.
Good for you, Steve.
And after I talked to my mom a couple of days after, and I said, what did he say? He didn't really say anything. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he phoned me once. I talked to him all the time. And I remember going through
But about this, he phoned me once.
Yeah, he phoned once and he's like, so how you doing? Not bad. Okay, well, that's good. And, blah, 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 blah. And at the time it bothered me, but I realized that's how he grew up, right? And it's that old school mentality. And, there were times one of my brothers has a lot of, physical ailments right now he's going through. And I'll never forget the one time he's going, yeah, your brother, I feel bad for him. He's going through, a lot of issues right now physically and blah, blah, blah. And I'm on the phone and I'm Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Waiting for him to ask, so how you doing? And it wasn't. And I think, and I still, that was a year ago, and I still think about that.
Yeah.
And, that's when the app came out and stuff. I'm like, fuck it. I gotta talk. I gotta get out of this old school kind of road mentality and just, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's a guy out there who's feeling that way,
Yeah.
what's your advice to them?
As hard as it is, and it was hard for me to recognize it, like to actually recognize it. And it took my wife to look at me in the eye and say, go get help. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have, a person in your corner, like I was fortunate, try and talk to someone. It was so hard for me to talk at the start. And I've heard it before, it's hard to talk about. It was fucking hard to talk about.
Yep.
Like it was really hard.
And you know how to talk. And you're good
I know
at
how
it.
to
You're
talk.
good at it. And
that's,
you do it for a living.
Yeah.
But it was hard for you.
It was hard.
Okay.
It was hard for me to go to my kids and basically say, your dad's fucked up. Not physically, but up here. That was hard. But I am so glad I did it.
Oh.
I was shocked at the support. So if there is somebody out there, there is support. You might not think there is, but there is. And I was really surprised at how much positive support there is for a guy,
Absolutely.
Because I'm like, oh, if I tell someone, they'll be like, oh, you're pussy or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, suck it up.
Absolutely.
It was shocking, actually. Hey, I love you, man. I'm here for you. I'm like, wow.
But no, I can't tell you how excited I am that our paths are crossing more.
Yes.
And for Scotty, I'm glad that you are where you are right now, and that you're willing to support. And I cannot wait to see you again.
Same.
Thanks.
I love it.
Thanks, Dr. Berg. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on here. It helps.
Oh, well,
it helps.
I'm pleased to hear that. That's our show for today. Again, for those who are, if you're seeing this broadcast and He Changed It's already this huge thing that's out there, great, that's awesome. But that's not where we are now. If you're seeing it as around the time we're broadcasting, we are in beta right now. Go to hechangedit.com. Between the last broadcast and this broadcast, I think we've got an Android version now. So if you're Apple or Android, you can come in and you'll see a scaled down version of what we're going to build here as soon as, we get some more testing done. There's going to be a little bit of investment that comes in to potentially to take this thing over the finish line. But what you're seeing on there is a scaled down version of what the big He Changed It vision is going to encompass. So thank you for those who have supported so far. We appreciate everybody who has sent things forward. We appreciate people like Steve who have been willing to be vulnerable and tell their story. And yeah, thank you so much for being part of the He Changed It community. For heCast, I am Mike Chisholm. Take it easy.